Love on the Red Planet. Chapter 1. First Contact. The red Martian landscape stretched endlessly, a canvas of rust and silence. Daniel Wright's heart raced as he prepared to become one of the first humans to step onto this alien world. 6 months of space travel had culminated in this moment, a breathless anticipation that seemed to suspend time itself. Dr. Sarah Chin's voice crackled through the communication system. Pressure seals are stable, radiation levels within acceptable parameters. Her professional tone masked the historic significance of their mission. Daniel adjusted his protective suit, each movement calculated and deliberate. The mission patch on his shoulder, an intricate design showing Earth and Mars connected by a delicate, cosmic thread, caught the harsh Martian sunlight. Initiating first ground contact sequence, he announced, his voice steady despite the overwhelming emotions churning inside him. The airlock hissed. Mechanical sounds that had become familiar during their journey now seemed alien and crisp in the thin Martian atmosphere. Daniel remembered his years of training, the countless simulations, the psychological evaluations, the physical preparations that had led him to this moment. As the outer door began to slide open, the first unfiltered view of Mars revealed itself. It was nothing like the images from satellites or rovers. The landscape was both familiar and completely foreign. Rocky terrain in shades of deep rust, ochre, and burnt sienna, stretching beyond the horizon in a mesmerizing, desolate beauty. His first step was more than just a physical movement. It was humanity's next great leap. One small step for a human exploration team, Daniel whispered, one giant bridge between two worlds. Little did he know that kilometers away, in the underground Martian research complex, Aura was watching his arrival. Her silver-flecked eyes tracked every movement, analyzing not just the human expedition, but sensing something more, a potential for connection that transcended species. Chapter 2. Cultural Exchange. The first week on Mars, transformed from a scientific mission to an extraordinary cultural dialogue, Daniel found himself increasingly drawn to Aura, a Martian researcher whose intellect and communication methods challenged everything he thought he knew about intelligent life. Martian language was a complex symphony of verbal communication, intricate hand movements, and bioluminescent signals that rippled across their skin. Each gesture carried multiple layers of meaning, making human communication seem primitive by comparison. Our communication is holistic, Aura explained one evening in the research station's communal area. Her hands moved in elegant arcs, while subtle blue-green lights danced along her forearms, creating a visual narrative that was as much a story as it was a conversation. Daniel was mesmerized. You're not just speaking, you're performing a living language. Aura's slight smile indicated nuanced amusement, a gesture Daniel was slowly learning to interpret. Language is not just about transmitting information. It's about sharing consciousness, creating shared understanding. Their conversations explored everything from technological advances to philosophical discussions about existence, consciousness, and the nature of intelligent life. Daniel learned that Martian society was built on principles of collective intelligence, where individual thoughts merged into a complex, interconnected network. We don't see boundaries between individual and collective, Aura explained. Your human concept of self is fragmented to us. Chapter 3. Hidden Dangers. The solar storm struck without warning. Collaboration became their only hope for survival. We'll need to merge our technological systems, Daniel suggested. The idea was radical, two completely different technological paradigms, attempting to create a unified defense mechanism. Aura nodded. In that moment, their professional respect transformed into something deeper, mutual understanding that transcended their different origins. Chapter 4. Falling in Love. It happened unexpectedly in the botanical research garden. Earth plants, carefully cultivated for potential Martian adaptation, surrounded them. Daniel was cataloging a particularly resilient strain of wheat when Aura's hand brushed against his. A subtle electric charge passed between them, more than just static electricity. It was a moment of unexpected intimacy that caught them both by surprise. "I've never felt anything like this," Daniel whispered. Aura's bioluminescent signals shifted, revealing a complex emotional landscape that human language could never fully capture. Love, for Martians, was not just an emotion but a profound neurological and biochemical connection. Their differences became their greatest strength, where human relationships were often marked by possessiveness and individual desires. Their connection represented a true merging of consciousness. Chapter 6: Opposition and Support. The first signs of resistance came through encrypted communication channels. Daniel intercepted a classified transmission from Earth's United Nations Space Council, the words cutting through the digital noise like shards of ice. The Wright-Aura connection represents an unprecedented diplomatic and biological risk. The message read, "Immediate intervention required." Simultaneously, in the Martian Council chambers, heated debates erupted. The elder researchers, their bioluminescent signals flickering with agitation, argued about the potential contamination, both biological and cultural, that Daniel's presence represented. "We cannot risk our entire civilization's integrity," argued Zarael, the most senior of the Martian Research Council. His skin pulsed with deep crimson patterns of disagreement. Aura stood her ground. "Our strength has always been our ability to adapt, to understand," she countered. Her communication was a complex dance of verbal language, hand movements, and the subtle light patterns that conveyed emotional nuance. Daniel watched, understanding only fragments but sensing the profound tension. He represented more than just an individual. He was a potential bridge or a potential threat. Chapter 6: The Choice. The decision weighed heavily on Daniel. His tablet displayed images of his family, his aging parents, his sister's children, the life he would be leaving behind. Mars was no longer just a mission. It was becoming his home. Dr. Chown approached him during a rare moment of solitude. "You understand what staying means?" she asked. It wasn't a question, but a challenge. Permanent residency on Mars required extensive genetic modifications. His body would be fundamentally altered, adapted to survive in an environment completely alien to human evolution. He would never again walk freely on Earth without specialized support systems. "I'm not just choosing a planet," Daniel reflected. "I'm choosing a future. Our future." Aura's presence was a constant, supportive but not pushy. She understood the magnitude of his decision in ways no human could comprehend. Chapter 7: Adaptation. The medical bay hummed with technology that blended human and Martian scientific achievements. Specialized nanobots prepared to rewrite Daniel's genetic code, allowing him to truly become a child of two worlds. "The process is irreversible," the Martian physician explained. Her multi-layered communication revealed both clinical precision and deep empathy. Daniel's body would develop new capabilities, enhanced radiation resistance, more efficient oxygen processing, muscular and skeletal structures adapted to lower gravity. But the changes went beyond physical transformation. His neural pathways would be subtly rewired, allowing him to better interface with Martian communication technologies. The boundary between human and Martian would blur. Chapter 8: The First Joint Human-Martian Scientific Conference represented more than an academic gathering. It was a diplomatic milestone, with Daniel and Aura at its center. Their research presentation wasn't just about scientific discoveries. It was a live demonstration of cross-species collaboration, of what unity could achieve. Holographic displays showed breakthrough technologies, atmospheric processors that could transform Martian environment, communication systems that bridged linguistic and biological differences, medical techniques that could benefit both species. "We are not just sharing knowledge," Daniel said during his keynote. "We are creating a new understanding of intelligence, of civilization." Chapter 9: Their Wedding Ceremony blended traditions in a way no human or Martian had ever witnessed. Earth's ceremonial white merged with Martian bioluminescent celebration patterns. Their vows were spoken in multiple languages, verbal, gestural, and light-based. Representatives from both worlds watched. This was more than a personal union. It was a symbolic marriage of civilizations. Epilogue. 5 years later, Daniel and Aura stood at the viewing dome of their home. Below them, their daughter, the first truly hybrid child of two worlds, played with toys that responded to her complex, multi-layered communication. The first transport ships from Earth arrived, carrying families ready to join the new collaborative colony. Humans and Martians worked side by side, their technologies and cultures increasingly intertwined. "Do you ever regret staying?" Aura asked, though she already knew the answer. Daniel pulled her close. Their embrace transcended physical touch. It was a neurological, emotional, and cultural connection. "Some journeys," he whispered, "are about more than distance. They're about understanding." Above them, Mars' twin moons traced their eternal dance across the sky, a silent testament to infinite possibilities.